Thanks for joining our webinar. This is YellowFolder by Intellinetics, and we'll get into a little bit more about what YellowFolder is and who we all are and who's going to be presenting here in the next couple slides. And you will hear from a very special guest speaker from District 47, Crystal Lake. Aaron Knoth is joining us, which I know is probably why you're all here. We do this all day, every day, but we know that when you hear from someone like Aaron, one of your peers who does this, the same thing that you all do, it's going to have much more meaning. So let's get into it. I think we'll probably still have a few more people come in, but let's get started. Roger? Okay, just a little bit of housekeeping. Everyone will be muted throughout this. There will be a time for Q&A at the end. We know you'll have probably lots of questions for Aaron. You might have some questions for us, and we will answer those questions. Gotcha. And then you will get a copy of the recording, any questions that obviously that we got to, and any questions that we didn't get to, as well as our contact information will be part of the slide deck too. Feel free to throughout the session. You don't have to wait until the end to submit your questions via chat. There is a chat feature, so go ahead and you can send in questions anytime. We will get to those. Next slide. All right, I'm sure you saw this when you received the information from our team to register and what today would be about, but you're obviously going to learn what YellowFolder is. When I saw the registrant list, some of you did look familiar and some districts looked familiar. So your districts may have met with Gina or I or one of our representatives in years past. Maybe your district wasn't ready to implement then, or maybe you weren't part of the process then, but some of you did look familiar. So we will start at the beginning and let you know what YellowFolder is. Of course, you'll hear from Aaron and get some real world insights from his journey going paperless. We will also cover some actual features within the system. It'll be a little bit more clear when we get to it, but we're going to talk about how to upload and how to search files and share files once they're in the system, once they're in YellowFolder. And then specifically, we know this was targeted toward districts who are in a feeder pattern. And by that, I mean, you guys in Illinois are so different than a lot of states because you've got a K-8 situation in a lot of your districts, and then your high school is a completely separate school district. And the beauty of using YellowFolder is that if we can get your feeder districts and your high school district, that really is a prime situation for managing your records truly paperlessly. So you'll also come away with some knowledge of what that looks like and why it's important. Okay, next slide, Roger. All right, our speakers today, I'm Candace. I'm going to pop off here in a minute. That way you can focus on the content rather than me talking. That's always helpful. I am one of the sales representatives here at Intellinetics for YellowFolder, so I'll make sure my contact information is listed here, but it will also be on the final slide and how you can get in touch with us. Gina Lunsford is on the call also. She is our paperless nation engineer. She really is an expert in how to help your district go digital, and we'll talk a little bit more about her role later as well. And then, of course, we have our fabulous Aaron Knoth on. He is a go-getter. You will hear from him, and he's already mentioned he could talk for days at length about YellowFolder. So you are in for a treat with Aaron. So, all right, I am going to turn off my camera so you can see the content. All right, Roger, next slide. Next slide, Roger. Working. Oh, thank you. All right, there is a lot of information on this slide. And so I'm not going to read it to you word for word. I hate when someone pulls up a slide and they just read me the exact content, but this will give you the key features, really what YellowFolder is. And so just to put it simply, YellowFolder is a filing cabinet. It is a secure cloud-based filing cabinet, so you can really get to a point where you're done with paper. We know that's not the best way. And in fact, most of our forms, most of our records begin electronically anyway through a SIS or something else. And so we're the ones printing them out and putting them in filing cabinets. using physical folders, physical paper, and all of that. And in a day and age where we have instant access to everything on our phones and on our computers, it always made me just question, why don't we have instant access to some of the most precious information we need, which is our student files. So if you're sick or on vacation, not that you should be working, but things do happen and you might need access to records as soon as possible. Well, with YellowFolder, you can do that. The other great thing about YellowFolder, and I kind of already mentioned that, is it is a team of educators. I myself was in education for 15 years. Gina was in education for 20 plus years. Gina, I don't want to date you. And Aaron, obviously, but our administrators, our leadership team, our trainers, 23 years, she said. Our trainers, our sales team, we've all been in education in K-12, and YellowFolder was designed for K-12. That is all we do. So maybe unlike some other systems or some other vendors, we don't do anything else. We are here for the sole purpose of making your life easier. And that's really helpful when you try to roll something like this out, because we've been there, done that. We know your language. We know the seasons that you go through. Like we mentioned, testing is coming up. And so that makes a really big difference. The filing cabinets that we offer are for all departments. We do have obviously student records or CUME folders, which we'll talk about today. We offer a filing cabinet for special education records because those are typically kept separate from the CUME. We offer a filing cabinet for HR or employee records, as well as administrative, business office, AP records. So it really is a complete solution for your district as far as record management. But for today's purposes, we're going to focus on the student records piece, so those CUME files. All right, so without further ado, I'm going to welcome Aaron Knoth from Crystal Lake School District 47. He's going to give you his timeline, his implementation, their goals, and all of that. And honestly, I've been with YellowFolder for 9 years. I have never met someone so passionate about digital record management. So, Aaron, I will let you take it from here.
Awesome. Well, thank you for the introduction, everyone. My name is Aaron Knoth. I'm up here in Crystal Lake, Illinois, and I am the Director of Student Information Services up here in the Records Custodian. So nice to meet you all, and so glad you came. I can't wait to share about our experience with YellowFolder. Next slide, please. So we are a district of 12 buildings, 3 middle school, 9 elementary. We have about 7,000 students in the pre-K through 8th grade. In our front office, and the reason I mention this is because this is really these are the leaders and the doers and the frontline people that deal with student records every day, right? Is our front office staff, our admin assistants, as we call them here in 47. They're the ones that are going to have their hands on these records day in and day out, the processing of them, the keeping them in the file cabinets, the organization of them. So they are only a 9-month employee. So I want to make sure I put that out there because it's different than a 12-month employee where you can do a lot of work over the summer. We only have them for 9 months. We have an off-site storage facility where later on you'll see some pictures of what that looks like, and that's where the records live that are 6 to 66 years old. And then we have some on-site storage in my office, in our SIS office, with our last 5 years of records. And we had an issue when I first started. We were running out of room. Physical room is expensive. We needed a solution. We had looked in the YellowFolder, like Candace mentioned, seeing some familiar names. We had looked at them earlier, and it just wasn't the right time. But when I started here 5 years ago, I was like, we need something different. And so we kind of looked into it a little bit and went with YellowFolder. So I'm kind of walk you through our process from paper to prepared. Next slide, please. So you'll see here some pictures of our off-site storage, which is just filing cabinets and lateral filing cabinets. And it's just running out of room. It's all labeled by year, but to store 66 years worth of files physically, it takes a lot of space. And so we were kind of running out of that. And fire code violations, things are stacked too high, right? If we know life safety inspections at the schools, if you start stacking stuff within 18 inches of that sprinkler, you're not going to pass life safety. So, thankfully there's no kids in this building, so they don't really get us for that, but it's something that we had to look into. So there's some images of what our our stuff looks like. And you can see this, these are right here in my office, these different file cabinets of our current 1 to 5 years gone from the district. Next slide, please. So in December of 2024, we went to the board with a proposal for YellowFolder, and we just said, okay, we're ready to move digitally. We got our board approval in December. And then in December, on over winter break, we're a 12-month department. So we kind of met, what are we going to do? How are we going to do this? And so some of the things is we needed to figure out what's the process, right? So how are we going to give instructions? How are we going to train people? Instructions, process, training. Oh my, we felt like it was Wizard of Oz. What were we going to do with all this stuff in this big initiative? And so that was happening in our department here in SIS in December, to then roll it out in January, training with YellowFolder for our department. How do you scan? How do you upload? How do you search? Those big questions that people are going to see. How do you turn something from paper to digital? And how are we going to do that? So we did a lot of that training here in-house with our team here. Next slide. And then January, then we started training the building staff. So our office staff, okay, you got to get them an access. How do you access it? How do you access YellowFolder? How do you search? The mind shift was huge, right? But if you make that correlation between a physical filing cabinet, how would you go find a kid's file in there? And then you just relate it to how they go find it in the digital filing cabinet. That was a huge win for us. We did a lot of training with building staff, our office staff, our nurses. And then we worked in January with our tech department to roll out the app Droplet, the upload app to all the computers, which is no longer necessary with the new feature that is all web-based, which is way easier than the app was. And then we had to move into February. What are we going to do and by when? And so what we focused on, because we are a K-8 district and we do feed into the high school, we had to figure out who's going to be more important. Do we just start with kindergarten and work our way up and keep doing this paper process with 8th graders going to high school? So we focused on those students that were moving, right? So 8th graders that were going to high school, we got all their files loaded in, because one benefit is our high school is a YellowFolder customer. And so it made that transition a lot easier, because what I used to do is go around to all the middle schools, get all the boxes with the driver and drive them over to the high school and drop them off just to make sure. And, driving around town isn't a big deal, but an accident happens and you got 2,000 kid files spread all over the middle of the intersection. That's kind of a nerve-wracking thing for me to think about. So we needed something to do. So we figured out in February, we're going to go ahead and take all of our 5th graders that were going from elementary to middle, and all of our 8th graders that were going from middle to high school. And those were the files we were focusing on just for that first year. Now, when I say first year, it really wasn't even a first year. We had half a year to get this done. We got it in December, and we wanted to make sure we had those kids that were moving done by June. Okay. And so in March, we kind of gave our admin assistants, hey, we need you to start prepping the files, right? What does prepping the file look like? Removing paper clips, removing staples, removing Post-it notes, getting the files ready to be scanned. And then as a SIS team, we went over to each middle school and we helped them scan as many files we could in the YellowFolder and load them for them to lessen the burden, because there's only 2 admin assistants at each school. Well, 8th grade was about 300 kids each school, so 900 kids for 2 people to scan. That's a lot of work. So we tried to help out our buildings, go in there over spring break and scan for them as much as possible. And then May through June, or March through June is what it should have said. Sorry, that's my fault. We were just there to support. We were going over. I was doing more trainings. I was meeting with staff. We had created a whole slew of documentation for instructions that shared out. So we shared out through an admin assistant newsletter every week. We share out, hey, this is how you do this. This is how you take the white permanent card that you used to have. Here's how you can scan it on the scanner as an ID scan, and kind of get more information out to them and give them processes so there weren't many questions. But that was also a powerful thing. Those people that were doing the scanning, we said, please ask us. We don't know, right? And then we would ask Gina or Candace. And I will tell you, these two, I'm going to toot their horns because they have been nothing but super helpful, super supportive. When it says unlimited help in the beginning, like it said, they mean it. Like any questions you send them, any data download you need, Gina is so responsive. Candace is so responsive. I have a school finish. I get that file within 30 minutes of me asking for it. Gina's got me the file for my school to double check and make sure everything went in. So that's kind of our process through June. Next slide, please. So we were successful. We did get every fifth grade and every eighth grade student files loaded in. It was a little bit of a crazy time, but we only had half a year to do it. So then the question came, what do we do with all the physical files? Right? So all the schools used to box up the stuff and send it to the next school. We sent it to our operations center. And every October we have a shredding party, we call it. We have a third-party vendor send out bins of things for shredding. We load up those bins and then they take them away and they shred them for us. So when we were running out of space or when we have all these physical files that we need to get rid of, that's kind of what we did. And I had bought a bunch of banker boxes that I gave to each school so that way every box was the same size. Because if you've ever worked in a warehouse or gotten files and all the boxes are different size, they don't stack very well. So those are little things that you can think about when you're going to collect all the files to be shredded. Make sure you have the same size box because it does help when stacking them all in one place. High school transition. Never will need to do that again. Thank goodness. We won't have the boxings up, sped files here, cum files here. It doesn't matter. It all lives in YellowFolder. And literally with the click of a button, the high school had all of the paperwork that we had. They had it in their possession now. So that the file got lost in transition is not a thing anymore. Loading all of the final paperwork is a breeze with YellowFolder. You make PDFs, you drop them in, and the sheet of paper has a name and an ID or a birth date on it, and it goes right to the kid's file. Probably some of the biggest learning I had to do was the first page of every import is the important page. That will kind of tell the system where to send it. So then we got done with that, and we're like, well, what is next year going to look like? Because now we just did that from December to June. Can we do more? Can we push ourselves a little bit? Next slide, please. So all new kindergartners that we were registering, they were never going to have a physical file, right? So they never were going to have a file in a file cabinet anywhere. We were loading them right to YellowFolder. So that means all the registration paperwork that we were taking in here, we have a PDF of it. We load it in a droplet. The kid has a file there, straight to YellowFolder. What should we scan now that we have a whole year? So we decided to go a whole year. We was going to do all first graders, and then again, fifth and eighth graders minimum. Okay, that was the minimum expectation for a whole year. Now, I will tell you, and when I made this, we were at 6. Since I made this a week and a half ago, we're now up to 7 buildings that are completely digital. Not just the 5th, the 1st, and the 8th grade. We have buildings that have completely, because of the ease of scanning the files and the efficiencies that we've talked about in that process, we were able to get 7 buildings completely scanned so far. And this is way surpassing what my goals were. I was hoping to be completely paperless by the end of next year, and I'm pretty confident we'll be completely paperless by Christmas or by winter break next year, maybe even sooner. A lot of buildings are only have like 1 or 2 grade levels left, and so it'll be interesting. If you are a leader in a district, honestly, you know that with change comes resistance, and there was a little bit resistance, but showing the end users the power and the ease of sharing documents, records requests, it was eye-opening for a lot of people, and they have just embraced it like nothing other. Like I was talking about, we have self-created instruction manuals that I'd be willing to share with any district that wants to come on. I'll show you kind of what we have. You can use it, lose it, or improve it however you want. Doesn't matter. I'm willing to share those. And again, they're YellowFolder specific instructions that we've created. We've done a lot of on-site trainings with new users. Obviously, over the summer, you get new staff and new admin assistants and new nurses. And so just a simple heading out to the school, meeting with them and showing them the steps to get through it all. It really has been a huge benefit for us. The new droplet version that's web-based is way better than the app version. And with combining what we do out of our SIS system, getting report cards, progress reports, all that information out of our SIS in a batch file, using Adobe Pro to separate those has been huge for us. Another awesome feature that's always free as well is bulk uploads with YellowFolder. You can send them a file of PDFs as long as every kid has the same number of pages and a CSV file, and they will load them for you. So it's more or less just prepping it and send it over and set it and forget it, kind of like a Ronco commercial. But that's kind of how YellowFolder operates too. Here, send us what you need, we'll load it for you. So that's been super helpful. Next slide, please. So you can kind of see here when we first started, again, 24-25 was a half year. So we got all fifth and eighth grade. This year, our goal is first, fifth, and eighth graders current that. And then next year was to load the third and fourth graders, the fifth graders, and the eighth graders. But again, I'm telling you right now, I know we probably will have maybe 3 schools left that have to scan, and they probably aren't going to have to scan all third, fourth, and fifth next year. They'll probably have maybe 1 grade level left. So in the daunting task of taking 9 grade levels to scan every file and load it in YellowFolder, it has been way more efficient and way quicker than I think we ever thought in the beginning. So next slide, please.
It bums me out that you're done, Aaron.
I know.
Like your slides are
I'm sure I'm
over.
not done. I'll stick around for the Q&A for sure.
Yeah. Like I mentioned before, you guys can just hear the passion. I talk about YellowFolder with folks all day, every day, potential districts that want to join, but I could listen to Aaron talk about YellowFolder seriously all day. He is so passionate about it. And one thing, Aaron, if I could ask before we move on to kind of
Yeah.
the what the system looks like, you mentioned earlier that you did your research and all that. Why did you guys decide, and I don't even think I know this, but why did you guys decide to go with YellowFolder over another vendor?
Well, I think well, I know the reason why we went with them is because our high school district uses it as well. And that whole transition, that process that we would do where I would box up all the eighth grade files in banker boxes and drive them over to the high school district, and then they would have to scan it all in. It was just a nerve-wracking. And no
Yeah.
matter how good the instructions were, their files were missed. There was files missing. Where is this file? It's in that person's office, and you find it next year, then you got to give it to them. And it was not an efficient process. So
Yeah.
YellowFolder allowed us to streamline that for us to scan all of our files in and literally just go right over there. So, and I know talking with our high school district, they were super excited that we made the move to YellowFolder because it did make their jobs a lot easier, and having everything right there at their fingertips.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay. I was just curious. Thanks. I was a lead special ed teacher at an elementary school in my district, and I too had to drive files from my school to the next one at the end of the year. And it is nerve-wracking. Nothing ever happened, thank goodness, but it certainly could. So um all that to say, if you're on the call right now, if you're on the webinar listening and you are in one of those feeder district situations, like Aaron mentioned, you're the district that's either packing up, sending files, or receiving files. And maybe your high school isn't on, or maybe one of your middle school districts aren't on. Like I said, we're going to share this information. Feel free to send it to them. The more of your feeder districts that use YellowFolder, the easier this overall process is going to be for you guys. And obviously, Aaron is an exceptional user champion, what we call user champion, right? You're going to have to find someone in your district who takes the lead on a project like this. Needs to be someone passionate about, process, and passionate about change, and passionate about doing things a better way, which Aaron obviously is. That's such a big part of it. But when I met with Aaron originally, he kind of came to me with, I know what I want to do, right? Like, I have this plan, and we can help guide that, and we can help shape it or misshape or, reshape it, because this is what we do for a living. But if you're not that kind of person, or you don't necessarily have a vision of what it looks like, you just think, I've got too much paper, we need to do something, but you don't necessarily know what to do or where to start. Going back to what Aaron mentioned about that unlimited support, it's so huge because we've all worked in education. We know it's not a one-time thing. You're going to need ongoing training. You're likely going to need, if you're certain districts, you might need a lot of hand holding, and that's fine. That's nothing to be ashamed about. But we are here to hold your hand, and we will hold your hand until you're all comfortable using the system, until your team is comfortable with having electronic records, because this is what we've done in education for hundreds of years. We've only used paper. We've never done anything else. And so that mindset shift is really important, and we will help you get there. We can customize a plan for you if you have no idea where to start. That is what we're experts in, and we will help you get there. So I wanted to share a couple things about that. Aaron, Gina, did you guys have anything you wanted to add before I get into the content?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. All right.
I'm good.
Obviously Aaron just showed, told us a lot about what his plan was, the importance, how it's helped them. But it's always helpful to see the system itself and really truly how easy it is to use, because we've all been educators, and it's designed for educators. Hopefully, Aaron and his team and other districts who use YellowFolder, they have said it's easy to use. Even though you have unlimited training, you probably don't need it because it's that easy to search records, to upload records, to manage your records. And so this slide just illustrates, we're going to talk first about searching, viewing, and managing. And this is, again, just a snippet of what it looks like. But you can see already, the interface is very colorful. It's broken down by the filing cabinet that you have access to. And of course, in this case, it's student records. But you'll notice, and let me also first say, like a lot of things in YellowFolder, there are multiple ways of searching. What we're looking at right now is what's called our file tree. This is very much like your physical filing cabinet with drawers, folders, subfolders, documents, labels, and all of that. So this is the easiest to show because it gives you something to compare it to. But there are other and sometimes faster ways of searching, like our advanced search. You can filter by student ID, doc type, and then we also have a quick search where you can just search text. So there are a couple different ways of searching, but I'm going to show you this one because, like I said, it's the easiest to relate to your filing cabinet. And so that is here on the left side of the screen. It's kind of small. Hopefully you can see that it's broken down first by active and archive. So your records are first going to be sorted by whether the student is a current student enrolled in your district, or whether they're archive and they've left your district. They've either gone on to your high school, they've withdrawn from your district, or they've graduated, right? That kind of situation. Then beyond the status of the student, they will be organized by campus. This is important because you're going to want to give access by campus. Your elementary secretary or registrar should not see middle school records and vice versa. And so you can limit access at the campus level. So students will be organized by campus, and then they'll be sorted alphabetically by last name, and by individual student. So you can see here on the left, I believe it's a C, someone with the last name of C. And then once you click on an overall student CUME folder, they'll further be organized by doc type. Okay. And so one thing I want to point out at this point is most of your filing cabinet is going to be handled because we integrate with your student systems. We have a connection with systems like PowerSchool, with Infinite Campus, with Skyward. So whatever SIS you're using, we will connect and integrate with that system to make sure the right students are active in archive. Your students are at the correct campus. And so they will be organized, kept up to date according to what is in your SIS. So that data will exactly match what is in your student system. You also, if you're looking at these doc types on the left, things like academic testing, home language survey, ELL, those kinds of document types that are in your CUME folders, you will have an opportunity to customize these. And you will want to customize to a certain degree because you'll want it to look and sound and feel like the document types and the titles and the types of records that are in your district, so that that transition from paper to digital is, easy and seamless for your staff, like Aaron said, who might be resistant to technology or change. So the more we can make it look and feel like your filing cabinet, but in a digital format, that's going to make this overall process easier. Let me make sure there's nothing else I was going to say. One thing I did want to point out too, as far as the document types that you can customize, you can also limit access to those document types. So I think one of these that you'll see in the CUME folder is medical. So if you wanted to add your nurses or your medical staff to have access to the medical folder only, we can do that because not everyone needs to see everything that's in that CUME folder. It's hard to restrict in paper format, but you can certainly do it with YellowFolder. Okay. And then beyond that, once you locate the file that you're looking for, obviously you're going to go through your filing cabinet, click on it, and you'll see your records show like in the middle. It's just in a document viewer, very similar to Adobe. Some additional features on the right side of that viewer. Again, you can limit who can edit, manage, truly work these documents, but there's a split feature, a share document feature, so you can share directly with parents or another school district, not necessarily your feeder, but another district altogether. You can share records at the click of a button, you can move documents around. And then at the very bottom, again, it might be kind of hard to see, it says document history. Everything that happens to a record is going to be time stamped, and by user, it will all be documented. So you've got a nice audit trail there for each single record that's in YellowFolder. Gina, did you have anything you wanted to add to searching?
Nope, you covered it all.
All right. Okay. Roger, next slide, please. We're going to take a look at how to upload records into the system, right? So it's easy enough to search. We're basically going to click through our filing cabinet to find what we need, but how on earth do we even get our records in there to begin with? Aaron mentioned one of these already. It's called the Droplet. So we have an application that if you want to use our virtual printer, does need to be installed. It's like any other printer that you would need to install on your device. This is compatible with both Mac and PC, so no worries there. But if you just wanted to use the Droplet, there is a web-based version of the Droplet. So your team doesn't even have to install this if they just want to use the Droplet. So let me explain the difference between the two. And just like with searching, there are a few other ways of getting records into the system, but these are the two most popular, the two easiest, best tool ever, the two easiest, and really the best for going, day forward. So let me touch on the virtual printer first, because honestly, when you're thinking about those team members that you have that again might be resistant to change or technology, the virtual printer is just like any other printer they typically use. The process for the virtual printer is not going to change the way that they do things. The only thing that's different is they won't have paper to pick up and put in a folder. And so going day forward, let's say 26, 27, we're not going to use any more paper. We're going to use YellowFolder. This is a literal click to file, print to file feature where you pull up a record in your student system, or maybe it's an attachment that a parent emailed you. Anything you would otherwise print, you can virtually print to YellowFolder. And so after that, the document is sent to YellowFolder to begin filing. That's probably the easiest way to get started as our virtual printer. And then the Droplet, again, Aaron mentioned this, is really a nice option for more of a bulk uploading situation where busy times of year, right? Again, I know you guys are always busy, but beginning of the year, you've got an influx of records. Kinder Roundup, you've got records coming in left and right. End of year, you've got records that you need to do something with. And so the Droplet will allow you to take kind of in bulk. If I had 50 documents that I need to upload, I just got, 10 birth certificates or something like that. I can scan them and I can drag and drop into my Droplet. So again, that's a skill most of your team already has. If there's anyone that's kind of hesitant to moving over to electronic, they already know how to print. They already know how to drag and drop. So you're going to drag drop files into the Droplet. Once again, they'll be pushed to your filing cabinet to begin the filing process. And that's another great thing about YellowFolder is not only are the skills you need, you already have them, right? But once the documents have been uploaded, YellowFolder will do that work for you. It'll file for you to the right student folder, to the right doc type folder. The record has to have the accurate information, but if it has the student name, if it has a title of what the document is, it will automatically file to that folder for you. It'll kick back if it can't. You'll want to file it for the system, but otherwise, YellowFolder does most of the work for you.
Hey, Candace,
Gina?
on that note there, I would say if you have a Nest thermostat at home, that's what I compare YellowFolder to. It's going to learn what you upload and how you upload it. And then as you train the system, it's going to get faster and faster and more efficient and more effective in how it loads your data to the right place. So you can train the system to say, hey, this is the template that we'll use for every EL letter, and it'll know to send that EL letter to that EL folder every time, and you won't have to tell it where to go. So I compare it to a Nest thermostat.
No, I love it. Thank you. And that's exactly right. It will learn your documents and get them to the right place. And what does that mean for you guys? It means everything's organized, first of all, but it's also accuracy and consistency with everything that's uploaded. Nothing's going to be in the wrong folder or in the wrong place, with your physical documents or your electronic documents, right? Because the system is learning your documents, regardless of who's uploading it, it will get to where it needs to be. So the accuracy and consistency, especially for audits, is a really big deal. Gina, do you have anything you want to add?
No.
Okay.
You're all good.
All right. Thanks. Roger, next slide. So that's most of the content, the meaty content of the webinar. We're going to look at some additional features and then a promotion we have going on right now for you attending today, and then we'll open it up for some Q&A. I think Aaron already mentioned one of these, and we've already talked about that migration of records from feeder to high school district. But with YellowFolder comes all kinds of support and service. The top portion here where it says free or included, obviously that is what it is. These services come with your YellowFolder subscription. And so the first bullet is the unlimited storage. You can upload as far back as you want to go. And I know Aaron mentioned right now they're trying to get their actives in, but we want, at a certain point, that comes to us helping you customize your plan. Yes, we want you to stop the bleeding first. Let's get your active records in so you're not creating paper. Your archive paper, we will deal with. But the important thing is you can deal with it because YellowFolder offers unlimited storage. So we want you to get everything in at a certain point. So it is a one-stop shop. Also video and audio files. Oh, good, Aaron. You're also able to upload video and audio. So if you had any kind of like recordings of incidents or meetings that you needed to save, you can do that in YellowFolder. The transfer of records, we mentioned that, and Aaron already mentioned the bulk uploading of report cards and state testing. There are times of the year when you're going to get a full report of every single student's, state testing. And so you can send that to our team and we will go ahead and split that for you and file it, whether it's 500 pages or 1,000 pages. We'll take care of that for you because we know that's important and that's necessary. The other thing that's not here, but I already touched on it, is the unlimited service. We cannot emphasize that enough because we've been in education. I have implemented systems like this before where we get, a training at the beginning and they said, bye, good luck. Not with YellowFolder. And I'm glad Aaron mentioned that. And thanks for mentioning that, Aaron. We love our job and we love helping you guys because we have been in your shoes. And then the other services here at the bottom are optional. There is a fee that goes along with them, is scanning services. Some districts choose to use us for scanning, but others find it easy. Like Aaron's team, they didn't need us for scanning. They did it in-house, and we will work with you if that's what's in your budget. But if you do have money for scanning and you want us to take care of it, great. We will drive to you, pick up your paper, your film, your fiche. We'll get it scanned in for you at an additional cost. We also offer storage if that's something that you need. And then the final bullet is migration, but not in the sense from district to district like we've been talking about. This is migration from other systems into YellowFolder. So if in the past you used Laserfiche or if you used another document management system and you now want to use YellowFolder, we can move those over to our system for you. Gina, did you have anything you wanted to add to this slide?
No, I just love the fact that just keep mentioning that unlimited storage, unlimited training, unlimited support for the lifetime of the product. So no matter how long you're in, you've got us for the long term.
Yeah. And I think Aaron mentioned that too. That's really important because you're going to have turnover each year. I mean, it just is what it is. You might be the best district ever, but you're going to have people who retire or move closer to home. And so that unlimited training, we know you're going to have new staff each year. You might have new nurses. You're going to have new secretaries. They're all going to need trained again. And so Gina's our trainer, and she does a great job at providing these trainings. She can do whole group, small group, one-on-one, 5 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever your team needs, like I said, to truly feel comfortable in the system. Next slide, Roger. All right, we do have a promotion. Aaron and his team took advantage of promotion at the time they came on, and so their setup fees were our largest. So they really saved quite a bit. So for districts who sign in March, it's 75% off the setup fees, then 50 in April and 25 in May. And you can see at the bottom, it's small, but the setup fees vary by district size. So a smaller district is going to have a smaller setup fee. Aaron's, a larger district, is going to have a larger setup fee. So feel free to contact us and we can share what that would be. Next slide. Okay. I know we've only got a few minutes left, so we're going to take a couple questions. Have we had anything come in?
No.
No. Okay. All
I haven't
right.
seen anything.
Okay. Does anyone have any questions? No? Okay. And that's all right. Feel free to, this last slide, feel free to get in touch with us if you do have an additional questions or want to meet. I also want to remind you that you are going to get a copy of the webinar and the recording. So if you wanted to share it with another district, if you're on as a middle school and you want to share with your high school, that's great. My information's listed here. The other place that you can contact us is just go to yellowfolder.com and click contact in the upper right corner. And that'll take you to a page where you can fill out some information and get in touch with us that way too. Gina, did you have anything you wanted to add?
Nope, not
Okay.
at all.
Aaron, do you have anything else you want to add?
Yeah, I just, again, if you join today or whatever, man, I am always willing to have a conversation. If you want more information about anything I talked about or anything I said or the instructions as well, I'm always willing to share. So we're in this together. So.
Thanks. Would you, Aaron,
Oh,
please share?
Amy. So yeah, so the file will automatically, it can name it. It depends on the process in which you do it. And so we came up with filing naming conventions for our staff so that way we could know what it was. But sometimes when you do a print from Chrome, it'll name it this huge long name and you don't know what it is. And so that's where we were like, oh, well, let's come up with some naming conventions. So I'd be happy to talk more about that if you're interested. But yeah, the file will automatically name it. When you do a bulk upload from YellowFolder, you tell it what you want to name the file, and then so that way you can do that right there as well. So, and if you're an Adobe Pro user, you can also do that in Adobe Pro on a batch thing as well. Konica copiers to scan the YellowFolder, you pretty much, I don't know how your scanners work, but for us, whenever we go to our scanners, it emails us the document. And so we don't scan directly into YellowFolder from the copier. We scan it into our email, and then we upload it from our email to YellowFolder.
Yeah. And I will say, I'll put this in the chat also, as long as the scanner meets our requirements, it can be used to scan. And we do have a direct scan to upload feature. Like I mentioned, when we were talking about uploading with the virtual printer and the droplet, there are other ways, and you can install a scanner to scan directly into YellowFolder to upload. But as long as it's Twain compliant, locally installed and set to 300 DPI, it should be good. So I'll put that in the chat. And as far as, I did want to touch too on the file naming convention. Aaron's exactly right. You will want, and you'll figure this out, but yes, you will want to specify some kind of naming convention, not because the system needs it to file, but because it makes things nice and clean and easier when you're searching. As far as the auto filing piece, YellowFolder doesn't care what you name it. You could title it the most random name, like Aaron said, XYZ123. It's actually going to read your text and it's going to file based on the text on that first page that Aaron mentioned. Right. So, user. Oh, thanks, Gina.
That's so easy to do too. It's a simple spreadsheet that you fill out and you send it in, and then they get them loaded. And I will say, outside of Candace and Gina, the actual support from YellowFolder, that little on that screen right there, the little chat bubble in the bottom right corner of the YellowFolder screen, they are super responsive. And Monica and Christine, I'll just name them right now. They're awesome people in support. I talk to them all the time, and they are very responsive and very helpful, very quick. Especially if you have to load one person or 100 people. They're very helpful. So
yeah, thank you. We love them too. So I think, curious about sharing between platforms. Amy, can you reach out to me at cernest@intellinetics.com and I can follow up with you. Okay, thanks. Yeah, I think that's everything, unless Aaron or Gina, you have anything else you want to add before we sign off?
Eric put one more question there about CEO image, if they can migrate between those databases. So
Yes.
okay.
Yep. Yep. That's another Intellinetics product. We can do that.
Sweet. Well, thanks
Okay.
again. Thanks for having me. I appreciate
Yeah.
it.
Thank you, Aaron. Thanks everybody for coming on. We appreciate it. We're going to sign off and definitely get in touch if you're interested.